Oh my goodness. That is so obnoxious when that happens. It's so sad. Thank you for the 8 of you that popped on over. We did have about 25 of us in the other one, so hopefully they will see that a new live stream started, and that's okay. So, of course, now it looks like that we're talking about the wedding covenant, but we're kind of going to be talking about the wedding covenant, but not really. We are going to talk about the verse that I was looking at that I wanted to share with you guys today is actually in Matthew 6:22. And so let me update that in the chat room here that we're talking about Matthew 6:22, and let thine eye be single. There we go. And hopefully that will update it. And we will see. Okay, it says that we're streaming. Good, it updated it. So at least 12 of you made it back over here. I think that's awesome. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time here to just wait for people to come in because it seems like everybody was excited. Like I said, there was 25 of you and now there's 12. Oh, I love when technology does something. My camera got turned off and it wouldn't come back on. So that's what ended up happening. And I was trying many things and I just couldn't get it to come back on. So what I actually wanted to talk to you guys about, we're going to go into this verse about the eye be single. But before we do that, before I actually share a worksheet with you, I wanted to talk about the mirror. And I wanted to share with you guys about the mirror so that you could actually see it in its Hebrew form and explain a little bit what's going on here. So as far as the mirror principle goes, that everything external outside of us is reflecting something from that which is inside of us so that we can actually see it. And when you actually can grasp a hold of this principle, it makes your exterior world make so much more sense that you can navigate through it. We were having a discussion with Keith a little bit earlier today, and we were talking about navigating the mountain and the arduous climb it is to get to the top, which is really the place of self-realization or self-actualization. And when you get to that place, instead of climbing, you actually flow down as the river, and water takes the path of least resistance. The mountain you have to learn to navigate because you have to find the path and the way up the mountain. Hopefully, well, you may have to traverse around some boulders and some loose rock, but there's always a way that has to be found to traverse to make that uphill climb. So it's very intentional in the process of doing it. But after self-actualization has taken place, then there's no longer any resistance. Now you can just be in the flow. And this is like connecting the mountain and the river are one. Some of the things that you've seen that Ken has posted recently on YouTube. And for those of you who have been on Patreon, that should really connect some dots for you. So the mirror. I've actually written this on the board right above my head, Mem Resh Aleph He. And there are some beautiful secrets within the mirror. The first thing that we notice is that Mem that is on the prefix side of that is actually been added because the root is Resh Aleph He. And again, so this might help you guys if I underline it so you can see what we're talking about here. Here's the root, Resh Aleph He. And this is to see, to have a vision. In the root, it's also, when we talk about the mirror itself, it's an instrument of seeing and a vision. So in the context of what we're saying here, as many times when we have a vision of something and we're seeing it internally, this is an internal vision, an internal mirror that is being presented within as light that is reflecting to try to draw the shadow up. I just experienced that. If those of you have listened to some of the things I've shared about my mountain experience in Crestone, where something that I'd actually seen 20 years before, I was literally living it out. It happened in the natural. But that vision was given to me internally so that I could see a process of becoming or a process of self-evaluation, self-actualization when I got to the top of the mountain, and everything changed. And so now it's entering into this place of flow. I really wanted to connect this. Are you guys I hear silence again. Are you guys, my connection looks good here. Are you guys not hearing me? Please, somebody give me some feedback because on my end, everything looks good. It looks like I have a full, strong connection. It looks like my voice is good. Please let me know before I keep talking because I don't want to waste my breath. Are you guys able to hear me? Okay, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. I appreciate that greatly. Now all of you are sharing. I love all of you guys. You're like, we're on it. We're on it. I love you guys. You make me smile so much. So I appreciate all of you and your feedback on this. So when we look at, we're going to actually even take a look at a verse in Proverbs, because many people have said, you know, in quoting things from the Bible, my people perish for a lack of vision. My people perish for knowledge. Well, you know, that can be loosely interpreted, meaning given whatever our indoctrination has been, whatever we're looking at, whatever is coming in our view, whatever books we're reading, you know, there's so much that can be interpreted in this. But we are going to dive deep into Matthew 6 today. And I'm hoping that it's really gonna open your eyes like it did for me. But let's go back to this mirror instance right here, what I've shared above my head here. Because I woke up this morning with a very, very strong impression on the inside to say to all of you and to me, because again, as I'm speaking out, I'm hearing myself. So I might be sharing with you, but it's so that I can hear myself. And really, who am I speaking to? Well, my egoic mind, because the words that are coming out of my heart are so that my ego mind can kind of slide out of the way so I can get into my Christed mind, my unified mind, and into heart-brain coherence so that the flow between the Magdalene heart and the mind of Christ can be actualized in bringing coherence in what I'm sharing. What I heard this morning within was bless your mirror. Bless your mirror. So let's talk about the mirror. Memresh Aleph Hey. For those of you who have been hanging around for a little bit, you will know that Memresh, because we've shared this many times, the first two letters of this word right here, Memresh, it's the word for myrrh. Now think of frankincense, think of myrrh, think of gold, gifts that were brought by the wise men, the sages, the magi, the magicians, things that were brought to the infant that would soon walk, well, not so soon, maybe 33 years or 30 years, would be a pinnacle of what the anointing of the Peshitta would look like. So part of the giftings, part of our journey, the myrrh walk, which is literally the myrrh, it means bitterness. And how you spell the herb myrrh in Hebrew is memresh. So, and then when you dig into it, it talks about myrrh, but then it also talks about bitterness. And I know my cat is making lots of noise. It's because Ken's outside. Cat wants to be with Ken. He doesn't get to go outside. So he's going to be making lots of racket. So I am fully aware that he's making noise, but he's just going to have to make noise. So hopefully you guys can deal with him. Memresh, myrrh. This word literally means bitterness. It means bitterness, okay? When we have the next word up here, this resh aleph hey right here is a word that means to see. I got dog and cats going around in the background, so we're just going to ignore them. Resh aleph hey. This means to see. Through the toroidal word, though, from the inside out and the outside in, we're going to see something a little bit different here, though, to take it one step further. So we can see how we have the bitterness that allows you to see, or we can say that with this mem, which either stands for mighty or chaos, connected to water, it's through your chaos you will see, or you will see the mighty nature. When we have a question as to what the mirror is, though, how beautiful is it that you can actually see this within the word itself? I'm going to put some brackets around it so that I can point it out to you. Right here, those two letters right there actually form a question, meaning what is it? What is it? So on the outside, we have these words that have come together that are asking a question. And again, this is a question that is actually written in the word itself. What is a mirror, right? If I can't share things with you, practical application, then I just need to stop sharing, because all I'm doing is trying to show something through my egoic mind that I know a thing or two. And I could care less about what my ego knows. I care greatly what my heart knows. And that's where I want to share that to you from the heart position, not from the head. So practical application is when we take a look at this, what is this saying to us? Well, if memhe is a question that means like who, what, when, how, why, we have on two frequencies on here. We have the prefix and the suffix. One has to do with mother's energy and one has to do with father's energy. We're talking about masculine and feminine energy that are trying to unite in the middle. And Resh Ayin or Resh Aleph is the shortened form of the word meaning to see. Why is this important, Carrie? Why are you going into detail? Well, maybe some of you have already put the pieces together, but if you haven't, the whole purpose of the mirror, and again, we're going past the surface, right? I'm not talking about a literal translation of the mirror that you can go check and make sure your makeup's on, your hair's fine, and you don't have anything hanging off your nose, or you don't have any sleepy boogers in the eye before you go out and face the day. I'm not talking about that kind of reflection. I'm talking about the inward reflection that is coming out and projecting in your exterior world. So the question is, instead of going from the surface of a literal mirror that's hanging on the wall, we're going to deep dive down into the deeper recesses of the under foundation to be able to see what is being shared with us. So as we dig deep, this is saying that the mirror, there's a question. What is this mirror? Mother and father are asking. Because really it's us when we're in Sheol, when we're in the place of hell, when we're in the place of inquiry, that we're trying to figure this whole thing out. So the question is presented both by mother and father. Again, why? One builds, the other fills. So if we're going to collapse a word and refill it with meaning, we need to be able to create the form of it and then fill it with an essence of something that we can actually work with. Otherwise, what's the point of just knowing a word? It doesn't do a darn thing. We need to know the vibrational frequency of how it's helping us from the inside out. So the memhe is proposing a question. The answer, or what is it presenting to us, is so that we can see through our heart. Because Ra is in the center, and anything in the center of the word has to do right with this, right in the center of our being. Being able to see through the eyes of our heart. So the mirror, so whenever you hear that being talked about as a mirror principle, whenever you have a question as to what you are seeing, that which has been projected, it's meant to take you inwardly so you can see what's going on in here. What kind of stuck energy do we have in our heart? What do we have that we need to bring forward and transmute? And that's important because here's the other aspect of it. This mem right here, mighty or chaos. If you're experiencing chaos because it's being revealed to you, like this is a manifestation in the external realm from your shadow. If you have chaos that is coming within your sphere, then it's trying to tell you you've got something you need to transmute, some sort of stuck energy within, with your shadow, with your woundings that needs to be transmuted, translated. So this could be in issues if you're having struggles with friends, family, colleagues, work. This could even be other things that are being projected out in larger globally. When we see things that are happening in the external, then we're actually talking about the collective and what's manifesting on a much broader scale. But the only way we can affect that is by dealing with our own stuff. Let's bring it back into making it personal for us. So within our personal sphere, we have shadows that we need to transmute. Then when we transmute all of them, then what are we doing? Then we're releasing the mighty living water that is reflecting out the Shekinah glory, the Shekinah, that divine feminine energy that is fully manifested as if clearly seen, which is the glory of God. Does that make sense? Looks like, Theodora, you have a question that you want to ask. Go ahead and type it out. You're welcome, Facebook user. I appreciate that. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate your comment. That's great. I love you. I thank you for stopping in and sharing that with us. So Theodora, if you want to type something out, please type it out. If you put it in caps, then I can see it easier and see it as a question. I appreciate it. So this mirror principle is something that's really important for us to grasp a hold of if we're going to be able to walk through and be able to do what we need to. Again, everything that Ken and I share is an internal work. It's an inside job. We're not talking about any of the external stuff. I am not trying to fix the world or the political scene or any of those things that's manifesting, because that is too big. What I can do is fix me. And ultimately, by fixing me, I can project something differently. And when we're all doing that, then we can change things globally. But it starts right here. We need to be the change that we want to see. All right, so you lost your friend today, similar to the father of my child, both around similar moon. So when you're talking about losing a friend today, are you saying that the friendship is no longer there, the friendship terminated, or did you say, or is this with somebody passing on? Like no longer in the flesh. Please help me, because I can read that both ways. That'll kind of help me to figure out what your question is on this, if there is a question. Thank you. I appreciate the clarity on that. Until you ask that question, I'm going to keep moving forward. So I just wanted to clarify that because of conversations I've been having recently, today specifically about the mirror, and I wanted to clear that up, and especially since it was something that I heard this morning when I woke up. All right, so yes, they passed. Are you wondering if the reason why they passed has to do with the mirror of you? Or is it with it being the harvest season and some people are translating out of this matrix? Because there's two things that are going on. So a lot of it, if you're losing a friend and it's deeply disturbing you, then that fear of loss, of that losing that connection within, is something that's wanting you to connect within. Because once we actually connect inside, we don't have that fear of losing life on the outside of us, because we found life within. And then we can bless transitions when people leave their flesh body. Does that make sense? So yes, why I connect and why awaken. Are you asking me if that death was to awaken you to something? Because here, this is what I'm going to do. And this can be a little maddening, but I'm going to put it back on you. What is it speaking to you? What are you learning from it? What is it being reflected to you? Because the only way that that question can be answered is by going within. Again, it's an inside job. All the answers that we will ever seek come from within here. We might have teachers that present things, and that's what I share, and Ken shares ideas for you to ponder. But really, the answers come from within, inside, from this innate. No, both were deep into process. I guess I'm still not fully getting your question. I wish I could understand a little bit more. Glowing hands, etc. No, both were deep into process. If you want, you can maybe email me and let me, because I'm not going to take the time to answer that here, because I'm not quite at understanding what your question is, and I want to continue moving on with what I'm sharing today. So I apologize for shifting gears on that, but I need to move ahead because I have a point in why I'm sharing today. Email me and we'll see if we can figure this out and see if I can assist you or point you in a direction. But I will say again, all the answers come from with here. And most of the time I'm going to point you right back here, and I'm going to ask you to ask the spirit within, the higher self that is trying to reveal something to your lower self so that you can unify in the middle. When we were discussing last week about the wedding, I wanted to say something this week to kind of complete the discussion from last week. I was looking up the word sacred, and right here, I wrote the word rakam, and then I wrote the word karam. These are a permutation of one another, and this will connect for some of you that are on our Patreon page and those that are going to be listening to Ken's teachings or have listened to them. This should connect to you in a lot of ways. This word right here, karam, can be, it's been translated as sacred. Another way it's been translated as is devoted, like devoted to religious uses. But it's also been translated as accursed. being accursed. Interesting, right? Being accursed. So what does this have to do with a sacred wedding if it has to be accursed? Well, the word accursed, when you do the etymology of it, curse means a course, like a course of action. And when the A is added on the front of it, it means without course. So collapse and refill. Something that is accursed, which they say is devoted for religious uses, which is meant for destruction, is accursed. And accursed means without a course of action. I want you to really sit on that. I really want you to sit on that, because I had to slow down and reframe that within, collapse it and refill it back up, because we've been indoctrinated of what curses are and whatnot. And it's really, a curse is a course of action. Accursed is one that is without a course of action. And the reason why this is sacred and set apart, and this is connected to the sacred wedding, we can take a look at the order of the letters and it tells us so much. And then I'll explain to what this one is. Some of you already know what Rakam means, but for those of you who don't, I'll share it with you. So Karam, Chet Resh Mem. This is devoted. This is something that's devoted and set apart as sacred. Accursed, without a mode or a course of action. No course. So when we were talking about the sacred wedding, and we were talking about the bride preparing and that set apart time where she would take a year or two to prepare her wedding dress, to prepare her gown, before the day when the groom would come and get her, when the father would say, now it's time for you to go get your bride, because the house or the addition on the father's house was now up to par, something better than what she was leaving to come to. If you guys don't know about the sacred Hebrew wedding, there's a video selection and a playlist on YouTube that will explain this, or you could do your own research on it. But the groom would be gone for a year or two, adding on to the father's house, and it was the groom's father that would then determine when he could go get his bride. So what was she doing? She was making her garments and getting herself ready to enter into the place of intimacy. So this devoted time, chet means separate, but it also is an esoteric letter meaning life. Rum means to elevate. So the set apart time to elevate oneself, to raise their head from being poor and destitute in order to complete the journey to become mighty in elevation instead of poor and destitute. So Carrie, what does that mean? That means that the whole job of the bride, for those of you who have heard this within the Christian narrative, to get our garments ready, is everything that we have been separated from, or separating ourselves from, is actually been making us poor and destitute. We are to take this set apart time, devoting ourselves to raising ourselves up so our heart is leading. The head always raises up from the heart, because we want to be led from the heart. We don't want to be led from the mind. That's why this resh is in the middle. This is to lift us up. So as the bride is getting ready for her wedding day in becoming the queen of heaven, Ashura, stepping into that sovereign place where then she then is projecting out the Shekinah, the Shekinah glory of God, there's work that has to be done. So that set apart place, for any of you guys that are working on your shadow work right now, that's exactly what you're doing. You've gone into that secreted place. You've gone into that devoted place to be able to find life from the things that you've been separating from, because life is the flow of energy. Anything that you separate yourself from, especially if it's your shadow or in those elements where we're trying to balance between the good and the evil and the black and the white and the right and the wrong and the different polarities. When we look at these comparisons, we're meant to attach to both the terminals so that the energy can flow in the battery, right? Without both of those connections, that battery won't release its stored energy. Same thing with us. We don't connect to both of those terminals. We are actually stopping up the flow of energy. So that which is separating us, that which we choose to separate ourselves from, is keeping us from having the flow of energy. So hopefully you guys are connecting that. When it shifts over to Rakam, these are actually both related. This is a permutation. So we have Haram and we have Rakam. Rakam is a word that is many times translated as love. It's or loving kindness. You actually see this quite a bit in the New Testament in Aramaic. Rakam, this is a different form of love. You know, in English we have love that can be, I love pizza, I love cars, I love you, I love my mom, my dad, my brother, my sibling. And then a lot of times we'll just take off the I and say, love you. You guys know how I feel about that. I've shared that many times. But in other languages, they have many different forms of this. And, you know, a lot of you have heard the Greek forms, and not everybody has heard the Aramaic and the Hebrew forms, the difference between chuba and rakam and what that looks like. So we're talking about rakam today. We're talking about loving kindness. This is the type that raises life up from the inside out. Because notice, now we have the resh and the mem on the outside. We have twin energies. We have mother and father that are coming together that are trying to bring life. This is the sustainable kind of love. Because it's lifting life from the inside out. And in these two letters right here is the shortened form. Excuse me. Wouldn't it be I start talking and I get a tickle in my throat? This is the shortened form of the word ruach. Ruach is spirit. So the spirit allows us to bring forth loving kindness in order that we can raise others up into life from the inside out. This isn't something that we're doing because we've been indoctrinated that this is how we need to do it. This is something that you cannot fake. This is something that is coming from life that has been found within, that then is projecting that outwardly to lift another up so that they can find life within. And chaya, the word that we actually see in the New Testament as life, is also the same word for salvation. And this is life force energy, negentropy instead of entropic by nature. So now one who has reversed their spin, that is has been born from the dead, that is of the dead, because they found life by dying to that separated self nature and having the ego bow so that the self as actualized can come forward from this place. So Rakam is what we're aiming for when we go into the devoted space. So in the set apart time, this is where we're dealing with the things that we have separated ourselves from. So we can raise ourselves up and raise our head. When we come here, this is now sovereignty that is leading. The head is leading because it has been risen from within. It is led by spirit in order to bring life to the collective. Please, I hope you guys are getting that. Spiritual sovereigns are those that are bringing forth life to the collective from the inside out because they've found life. Therefore, everything that they're projecting is coming from the position of life instead of separation, in order to bring it in to the collective so that the many can experience it. So that's that whole purpose of what we are doing. And so the process of adding the mirror to that, you will know if you're in this place or if you're in this place, dependent upon if you're bringing, if there's a mighty revealing that's going out through the Shekinah glory, or if what you're bringing in is chaos that is being reflected to you. You'll know where you're at. Are you in the devoted place still as the bride making her garments as we are to put on a garment of light? Or are you on the place where that which you are reflecting in the sphere that's coming back to you is loving kindness? Because if that's coming back to you in your mirror, that is exactly what you're reflecting. And in this place, you've moved out of the accursed place, meaning without a course of direction. Now you're flowing in loving kindness. The course has taken its place, and you're bringing forth loving kindness to the collective. You guys get that? So yeah, that was 30 minutes of an introduction there, because now I want to take you into the verse. But I just felt that was important for you to be able to connect to why the mirror work is so important for us to see our shadow of what the ultimate projection is, because really we want to be that walking embodiment of the Shekinah glory out in the world, manifesting God, as that's who we are. And we are the hands and the feet and the head and the mouth that is declaring that. Okay. Is the woman who gives too much outdated? I think you would need to, Joyanne, be able to rephrase that question a little bit more in order for me to understand that, because I'm not knowing where you're coming from on that one. Thanks, Drew. I appreciate that. All righty. Let's dig into the verse that I wanted to share with you guys today. We're only going to do one verse. I said that I was going to share 2 verses with you today, but I'm just not going to, because it's too much. It is just way too much. And I want to be able to make points for you guys to ponder on that you can take with you. Because if I give you too much information, it's like a paper towel tube that I'm shoving golf balls in. And at some point, stuff will start falling out, and that doesn't do any good. So if I go into 2 verses, you won't remember the first verse, and I will have wasted your time as well as mine. I've learned that less is better than more. Although by the time I am done sharing with you today, you might go, oh, dear Lord, you shared too much. So, I laugh at myself. Okay, let's take a look at the different translations of this verse. The reason why I want to share the different translations, because I want you to be able to see between what's going on here, how these different translations come about, because I get shocked when I see some of these differences here. So we have John Etheridge's, Dr. Murdoch's, Lamsa's, and the King James Version that I've pulled up for you. Some of you may not know that translations are different in a lot of ways, because when somebody is working with it, they have to change the meaning of the verses, or they'll get copyright strikes. Because these works are copyrighted, they cannot phrase them the same way. So if you're kind of wondering why we have so many different versions, there's copyright laws that take place. This is why I encourage people. I don't encourage people to go buy a certain Bible, because I've had many people ask me, what Bible should I be using? And none. I mean, it's a great reference point. But again, what you're seeing is the eyes of the translator that did the work. It's their heart's reflection coming back. So please take that in consideration as well. This is why I always suggest for people to do their own translation work, because you're literally translating yourself. Play on words in many ways, if you can read into that. It goes deeper than just what I said on the surface level. So when we see these, we see Etheridge is talking about the lamp of the body is the eye. So we've got Etheridge, Murdoch, and Lamsa that is all saying the lamp of the body. And then we have King James come in that says the light of the body. Okay, a little bit of discrepancy, but notice how what they say here at the end. So in Etheridge, if thine eye therefore be perfect, okay, and then we have in Murdoch, if therefore the eye shall be sound, and then we have Lamsa, therefore your eye be clear, and then we have King James that comes into if your eye be single. I actually probably should have asked all of you to chat. I mean, if you want to, you can type in the chat room. This isn't going to be pointing fingers at anybody. You can't get this wrong, okay? You can't get this wrong. And I am not judging any way, shape, or form anything that you guys are sharing with me, unless it's my own reflection that's coming back at me. I'm done. Those days are done. My judging is for self-reflection so that I can recalibrate as necessary. It has nothing to do with you, has everything to do with me and how I'm continuing to grow and mature day by day. But if you would like to, I would love to hear what you guys have in your thoughts when you hear, let your eye be single. What does that mean to you? Because I think the point of me asking you this, whether you choose to do it or not, it's up to you. You will see that many of us have different interpretations of what we mean, what we think this means as your eye being single. It could be how the brain is looking at it, how it's processing it. What does the spirit say to you? What is the indoctrination that you received growing up, whether it be in church, out of church, or through what other people have shared with us? And be interested. Like I said, if you guys choose to share, that's great. Michael, good to see you. Michelle, good to see you. Man, I got all kinds of family member here today. So happy that you guys are here. Dragon Queen, thank you. 2 hemispheres linked. I really like that. I can totally see that. The right and the left, the masculine and the feminine. Yes, I could totally see that. I appreciate you actually sharing that. Anybody else want to share? I'd be happy to read that as well. And if not, brave, very brave of you, Dragon Queen, to present that for other people to see what you are sharing. Alan says, if both eyes are headed in the same direction, your eyes are single in the direction you chose. Therefore, your eyes have been doubled in one. I appreciate that share too. Daryl and Lorax. Oh, good. Lorax is here too. All right, Treya, you're listening from the beginning, so you'll probably be about 30 minutes behind, and that's okay. And peace away from good and evil. All right, I can see that. Peace and love, all focus, only one love, a toroid, 2 folding into 1. I love what you guys are saying. I love all of these different ways of looking at this verse, and not one is wrong and not one is right. They all are different projections of how you see this verse. So thank you for letting me see you, because really it's how I can see myself better. So let's actually go back into this verse. Let me see if I can get in there. I'm going to have to do a stop share and go back in because I popped out so that I could actually see you guys. Right. Now let's go back into the document. We're going to go a little bit deeper here. And yes, this is going to be a deep dive. So for those of you who haven't seen me before and how I do things, you're in for a wild ride. It might be too much. So if that's the case with too much on the page, I just ask that you close your eyes and listen with your heart. So the letters that the words that I highlighted here, I put in here, sound, clear, perfect. And that those words right there sound a lot like Hallel. Hallel, for some of you, you know this word has been translated by King James as Lucifer, but really it means a shining one. And you can see the very first time that it's used and the only time that King James translated this as Lucifer is in Isaiah 14:12. So when we go down a little bit further here, we can see that it means it's the morning star. And I wanted to point out here, anything within these dash, after the 2 dashes in the Strong's Concordance, anytime you see that, that is what the King James Bible has translated this word to be. So in going back, it's a shining one. And you can see, oh, from heaven, O star of the morning. King James, O heaven, O Lucifer. What is that? INT? Is that the international version? Have fallen, heaven, star of the dawn. You can see how easy it is to form egregores based upon translations when we take them literally, instead of digging a little deeper. So if Hallel, aka Lucifer, as the sense of brightness in the morning star, where is that coming from? Hallel, a word that means to shine. He praised her. Very first time it's used is in Genesis 12:15. Saw her and praised her. Interesting. And it means to be clear, to shine. But it also means to make a show and to boast, or to be clamorously, foolishly to rave. But it also means to celebrate. Now, for some of you, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. For some of you, that might have been a little shocking to see the duality. For those of you who have been following me for a moment, for a bit, you have actually seen that words are dual in nature. And I know that this is confusing, but this goes back to the mirror principle, that which I was sharing with you from the very beginning about the mirror. The sacred writings are a perfect mirror to you. Case in point, when Ken and I started talking about Lucifer, aka the light bearer, which is all of mankind, Ha-Adam, I shared that fairly recently. When I first started sharing about it and Ken started sharing about it, we got a lot of flack on this YouTube channel. And there was one person in particular, I don't think she follows our work anymore. And if she does, I absolutely bless you and I love you and thank you for hanging in here with us and being able to be teachable on these new subjects that really challenge this beautiful woman. And she saw it through the boasting. She saw the lens because she looked up the word, but she didn't see the other side. She didn't see to be transparent, to be or to be clear, to celebrate. She saw the other side of it. So that mirror principle is revealing something from the inside out. Therefore, when you translate it, however you translate the words is showing what's going on in here. So what I'm going to share with you today is how I see the verse. And again, this rocks the boat a little bit with the ego, because the ego really likes things to be neat and tidy and absolute, like this verse means this one thing. And I can see that. The ego doesn't like things that it can't put a finger on. Any of these unknown territories based on the box it put itself in makes it extremely uncomfortable. And if that's what I do today, good. I want to stir you up. I want to stir that ego up so that you can start seeing with your heart. See within your heart and unify it. That's why that aleph is right in the middle. It's so that we can unify ourselves, so that we can have the mind of Christ and the heart of Magdalene unified. Hence why it's the head is also there. The head and the heart unify. Can you guys see that? Resh is letter for head. The aleph, unify. It's in the center of the word. That's your heart. So if I stir your ego a little bit today, it's a good thing. If it really upsets you, you can leave a message and I will just bless you, because I understand this. All this stuff stirred me a while ago as well. Yes, Haliva. Haliva, Haliva. Let's go back in. We're going to dig into this verse now. Okay, let's get it pulled up here. Here we go. Matthew 6:22. As it reads, the lamp of the body is the eye. If thine eye therefore be perfect, the whole body will be illuminated. King James, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. We're going to dig down. First word. Lamp and wick. Also, to be dim, light, imagine, dream, fantasize, and dazzle. Interesting, right? Interesting that these are the meanings of the words. Yet when we see it back in the King James used the word light. The light of the body. But in this form right here, in the shortened form, it's lamp and wick. So the other translators did leave it as lamp and wick. The full root, which we see right here, Shin Resh Gimel, which is interesting. I don't know if you guys see that, but anytime you see a word that is twice together, there's a reason for it. Why is that? Because it's something within something. So Resh Gimel, when we take a look at this word right here, I'm going to highlight it as well, is a word that means desire, long for, lust after, and yearn for. This is something, this desire that is within a desire. The inward desire. And because it's in the center of the word, it's really that which is on the inside of you. Okay, I want you to think about this for a moment. That which is inside of you has to do with the lamp, and it has to do with the wick. It has to do with that which we imagine, that which we dream, that which we fantasize. And then we have this external nature that is added on the outside of it. Do you guys see that? I'm going to highlight that in a different color. Hope you guys are following with what I'm sharing with you. Notice it has that sheen on there. And I've shared many times that sheen is quote unquote the fire of God. There's much to be said about that with inculcation, sharpening, the quintessence, some have called it, the electromagnetism energy that actually makes creation flow. So notice in this root word, we have two and they're exactly the same. So we are actually talking about mother and father, inward and outward reality are the same thing that are being manifested through electromagnetism out in the projected world. But it wasn't written in its full form. It was only showing this. So the Resh Gimel, that which we desire and long for at our heart, through the fire of God, is going to and is meant to bring forth oneness unity. That Aleph has been added. That is a very important piece. That Aleph has been added. The original root did not have that on there. So that which is within is what you are uniting with on the outside, which even though it looks like on the outside, this is the feminine energy. The feminine energy is filling. The masculine energy, which is form, is taking this etheric fire to form something. The Aleph is the absolute filling of this form that has to do with longing and desiring for something. I'm going to stop share for a moment so I can talk to you without the page. What I'm sharing with you is how we are creating our reality. The desire of the heart is the most important thing. And because we have neurons that are within our heart, we have a heart brain. That which we are feeling from this place is directly connected to that which is being projected out in our outward reality. So whatever we're desiring for, whatever we're longing for on the inside out is directly affecting out here because we become one with it. That Aleph is the quantum realm. That Aleph is God's essence through the feminine energy that is coming and is wanting to fill our desire of what we want from the inside out. Let's go back. There's more that's going on here, though. Also, in this form of this word, I'm going to highlight, if I can do it here, so you can see it. These first two letters here, we're going to change it and put it in a different color. Means to be strong, establish, confirm, strengthen, encourage, sure, and hold firmly, to be steadfast. So this is actually linked into this word about the lamp. When I take a look at this, what I am seeing it say is that that which is on the inside of me, that which I long for and I desire, I'm actually strengthening it. I'm actually confirming it because I'm holding firmly to this desire on the inside that is then going to be entering into the quantum realm and being projected as manifested, as absolute, as seen. But notice that part of this is a head person of any rank, an overseer, a magistrate, a chief, a chieftain, a vassal, noble, and official. We are talking about sovereignty here. This isn't just about light in nature. This has to do with being responsible for the things that we're bringing forth, the things that we're birthing, the things that we're bringing into the quantum realm. That this is specifically written. So we see a word that means lamp, but we don't see that this lamp has to do with sovereignty. You guys would know this as, for some of you, if you heard the phrase Sar Shalom, Prince of Peace, you would know it as that. Sar, as a chieftain, as a noble, prince, princess, royalty. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about the surface translation of a lamp. I mean, we're talking something that goes much deeper about that which we do as sovereigns, as creators, being responsible creators for our sphere and those that are within our sphere, but how it reaches abroad and goes much further. Then we move on to the word body, flesh, dead body, and carcass. This word has a dalet added on front of it. The dalet is the door, which has much symbolism to it about delivering ourselves from things that keep us ill, weak, and feeble. The things that we've separated ourselves from that are dangling that need to connect. The aleph has also been added on there. So this is really delivering ourselves from everything that is separating us from the quantum realm and being unified with it through the feminine energy where they become one. And this is connected to the body, but also a dead body. Interesting, right? So we've got a body in flesh and we have dead body in a carcass. Again, the whole point is unifying the two because they share the same place. What is this saying to us? Well, when we take a look at the toroidal aspect of this word, again, if you get hung up with the minutia, I know Ken says sometimes when I share it gets busy with all of it, but I'm a schematics person and I absolutely love seeing how the words are built. Gimel is in the center, the very center of this word, and Gimel is a letter that means to gather and to assemble. Gam with a lamed. So gather and assemble yourself through instructions that are going to teach the heart so that you have authority within. The two letters that aren't highlighted, the peresh, is fruit. Gather and assemble the fruit that which is within you to deliver yourself from that which is keeping you to being dead so that you can then become one who sees. There's that Ra again, remember from the mirror? One who sees that everything is of the essence of God as the absolute. So this is actually one of those things where Ken would say, look as it instead of at it. So we're delivering ourselves from anything that is separating us, and we're gathering what we need to instruct our hearts so that the heart bears fruit. I don't care what the mind's doing. I'm really interested about the heart. Because out of the mouth is what the heart speaks, right? Pei, mouth, speaking, peresh. The fruit of that which you have gathered will be coming out of your mouth. And it's either going to raise others up or it's going to keep them in a poor and destitute place. And as the mirror, it's actually going to show your own reflection coming back at you. Let's move to is, are, they are. Those of you who have been on Patreon or have been listening to my language teachings, like I've been putting them out there for $5 a month for a cost of a cup of coffee. You can learn how to do this yourself. We've done 9 of the introduction videos so far, and I've done some live streams to explain this. We've gone into great detail of what the Aleph Yod Tav is. Aleph Yod Tav, right here, is an amazing word. Its root, believe it or not, is Yod Shin, which means a being of substance. Shin, fire of God, electromagnetism, one who is negentropy. So the Aleph Tav is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. It now has a Yod in the middle. It dropped the Shin because you have to find the fire of God. The Yod is the work and deed of your own hand by that which you do on the inside. But look at this. Yod He has been added. That's added to the suffix side, you guys. That is a shortened form of the word that is translated as God. Yah. The power of the Shekinah glory. What is this saying, practical sense? This is one who has done the work and the deed that they needed to reveal their shadow to themselves, so they've converted it. These are those who have done the work. Because again, is, are, they are. This is directly connected to where we would get into the word Haya as well, the root of Yod He Vav He. But I want you to see something else here. This might be a little bit harder for me to do, but I'm going to take off all of our highlights here, and I'm going to show you this. I'm going to highlight the Yod, both Yods, and I don't want you to look at them. I know that's funny. I'm highlighting them, but I don't want you to look at them. Pretend they're not there. Aleph Tav He is you. It's the word that means you. It also means come. Aleph He on the outside is the spirit breath. The inhale and the exhale of the spirit. One is contracted, one is expanded. This is actually the flow of that which happens on the inside of us as we contract things. We bring our energy in and then we expel it and we create something new. And right in the middle, we have two yods. It is a hand of mother and it is a hand of a father that are coming together in covenant in the middle through the spirit. That's why I'm going to actually put the tav in the middle. This word in its Troid fashion is saying you come through the power of mother and father, through the work and the deed that you have done to deliver yourself from all separation of all that which kept you ill, weak, and feeble, joining in as the spirit breath, as the inhale, as the exhale, that of absolute creation, bringing forth the Shekinah as a being of substance, revealing God's glory. Hope you guys are catching that. Then we talk about the eye. Hyena. When we take a look at it in Aramaic, it's literally just means eye. But the aleph has been added to it. And with the aleph added to it, these last two letters here actually form a word that says, I, we beseech thee. I, we beseech thee. Well, who's the I and the we that are beseeching thee? What I just shared right here. They are. The I and the we that beseech thee are those that are manifesting God. They are manifesting the Shekinah glory because they did the work that they needed to through their shadow. And they are asking through a prayer. And this would be something that isn't like vocal because it's on the suffix side of the word, not the prefix. This is an internal prayer that is actually being spoken from the shadow side that is saying, I, we beseech thee. Find the seed of life that brings forth oneness, unity in the absolute sense and form of the word so that we can all fully see that all is one. I hope you guys heard that as well. These three letters also have another nature to them other than just the word I. It means to not only of visible surface and appearance, but to gleam and to sparkle. You guys wonder, I've heard some of you said that the Father has said, or the Spirit has said, or however you want to name it or share it, that you were told to look at the eyes to be able to see. The gleam and the sparkle has to do with something that is happening within, especially when one is unified. Because again, this word has the aleph on that suffix side. It's kind of a big deal here. And I did want to point out one thing. If this noon was actually changed into a mem, it would mean a glow and it would be mighty. But that's a topic for another day. So the substance that we see, I highlighted this because if this is dealing with substance and the aleph is added, this is literally the substance of the quantum realm. The substance of God is found in the hidden place. Well, what does that mean? If God is building some assembly required, then in order to us get into the quantum realm of the essence of who we are in building this and seeing it so that we gleam and we sparkle and we can have that inward prayer that we are manifesting out, I, we beseech thee, it comes from that hidden aspect of our shadow that must be transmuted. That's why you're going to probably always hear me discuss shadow work. It's not really for your sake. I'm actually sharing it with myself so I can hear myself say it. So that I can be realized that whenever my shadow presents itself through a trigger, there's this inward prayer that is coming from that sacred space within that says, I beseech thee, Carrie, do your shadow work. Transmute all of those so that this world has nothing on me. Because I've transmuted it all. Now I can flow like water. No resistance. Okay. Now when we move into this next session, if, but, we, and now if, I absolutely adore this because it's written as Aleph Nun, but that's a contracted form of a word that means to be nothing. to be not existence, a non-entity. But it's also identical with a word that's a query. Like, okay, so there's a question again, another question being presented. I love this. There's questions being presented, just like with the mirror. There's a question. What is this mirror? Well, this question is, how do we become a non-entity? How do we not exist when we're here? Here's the beauty of this. Because it's Aleph, we're talking about the quantum realm, and with the noon, we're talking about a seed that produces life, perpetuity, a perpetual sense of being in the quantum realm. And it's asking why? How do we do this? Well, really, it was resolved in the word before. Work on the hidden aspects. Become one with your shadow. Don't distance yourself from it. Don't try to separate yourself from it, because the seed of new life is by going through it and embracing it. Now we move into that second portion. Now, but if the I. Notice this little guy right here. There's a cough added to it. Now, in its written form, it literally is a fallen cough. But for the sake of how translated it, they just put the letters, and they didn't actually show that this one was in its fallen state. That's also a conversation for another day. But the cough is a root word that means that which is bent. That which is bent. But it also has the meaning of grasping with a hand, like power. And it means bend, open, allow, and tame. And a scale of a balance. What is this saying? We need to grasp a hold of that which is hidden, that internal part of us, so that we can balance the scale. Because again, everything in duality is seeking balance, if you can see it that way. And that is why we have the moon, to see when it's full, the darkness creeps on to try to bring balance. And then when it's dark, the light tries to increase to bring balance. Everything is about balance. And this is saying, if you want balance in your life, you have to grasp a hold of that dark shadow that is within here, the divine feminine energy, Lila, that is there waiting to assist the wounded inner child to come back home, to come back in the heart. Because it really is a safe place. It may not seem like it, but when Hillel reaches down and is connecting with Lila, those two energies build family from the inside out. And that's what we're all wanting. We want to be unified in family. Happens right here first. And that's by unifying both of those energies within. We have to grasp this, but that means you have to venture into the dark. That which is bent, the shadow that has been bent, and we need to tame it, and we need to allow it to come forward instead of hiding, ducking away from it, and resisting it. Therefore, hence, this word, as it stands alone, is actually the Hebrew word for temple, but it's a compound word in Aramaic. We have he, they, she, it, is, that one, and those. And then we have a word that means measure or to measure out. I want you to see something through the toroidal letters, though. As we look at this, on the outside in, we have Hillel, and then we have the Kaf Yod on the inside. And that Kaf Yod, indeed, truly now, perhaps, again, another question is being presented. Perhaps if we can grasp a hold and bring balance and find that spark, that vision, that Yod on the inside, which means I need to do work. The power, means, and direction have been given for me to do so. The light of Hillel, that which is being illuminated in order to instruct my heart so that I can have authority over it. If I do that, then I can have authority over my shadow, because I've brought it back home. I've compiled it. I've put it back together. It has been revealed to me. And where is it pointing us to? Well, you need to grasp a hold of the power of the heart within in order to have that happen. And this is all temple language. But I also want to show you that this Kaf Lamed right here, this is the power of the bride. Kal means bride, crown, and complete. So the revealing of the bride who's received her crown and completed it is one who's done the work from the inside out. They've done the work. They've done the inner excavation. They went into the place of their heart and they grasped the power of their heart. What are we talking about here? This actually, if you want to take a look at this word right here would be a manifestation of the Christ mind and the Magdalene heart. Because you have Hallel on the outside and you have the Kaf Yod on the inside, grasping the power of the heart. And we move into the language where we talk about being turned, to be and to was and to turn. This is the Aramaic form of the word haya. And those of you who have been following things that I've shared before, haya, to be, become, and come to pass, which is the root of Yod He Vav He. This is one who has the spirit breath and they've connected themselves on the inside through the ethereal and the material, the place where it's being and then there is not being, that narrow place that few find. And the Tav has been added to this. This letter was added to the form of the word, which means covenant. Covenant, completion, finished. This means that what we are doing on turning is then completing that on the outside projected world. Why is that important, Carrie? Because of what I just shared here. Whatever you're grasping a hold of, again, we were talking about that which we desire on the inside. When we grasp a hold of the power of this, this is being revealed as an authoritative place because we have turned from the inside and we've projected it outwardly and we've made it be. And how did we do that? Through a revelation that we connected to within and we created it through the quantum realm. Do you see that? So this is also letting us know that if you want to turn your outside world around so it projects and is something different, then this is the work that you need to go through. Now here we come to what I really wanted to focus on. This is the word that King James translated, and I'm going to type it down here. And I'm going to put it in, here we go. I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to put it like that. King James translated it as single. This is Peshitta. Simple, upright, and straight. Now, when I saw this, I went and I saw the root of it and I was like, Peshat. Oh my gosh. There are 4 ways to read scripture. There's 4 ways to take in the sacred languages. Now, the Peshat is the simple. This would be the literal translation that if you guys were looking at a mechanical translation going from the words of the Hebrew and the Aramaic into a mechanical, it would be the literal translation of what the translator chose to do, usually word for word, one word, but every word has like a paragraph of information. But in the simple translation, it isn't. Much is lost. So the simple, upright, and straight of it, the Peshat, the primitive root, look at this, you guys, to spread out, deploy in hostile array, and by analogy, to strip. So we're stripping the writings down to something to make it simple. I put this down here so you guys can understand a little bit deeper. The Peshat means the plain or contextual meaning of the text. The next level, the Remez, is the allegorical meaning. The Durash includes the metaphorical meaning, and the Sod represents the hidden meaning. What are we wanting to do here? This is talking about turning the simple. Peshat is the root word. How do we turn? Through the work indeed of the inside, in order to bring things into unified realm of the quantum realm where nothing is separated anymore. Push also means up. So, of course, we're turning things upright to be straight. Are you guys seeing that? I hope you guys are. I'm going to pop out of here because I can't see what you guys are saying. Not when I'm sharing my screen. What are you telling spirit, fungus, or demons? What are your teachings on spirit, fungus, or demons with the breath? I do not teach anything on demons because they're egregores. They are figments of the imagination that we create and we give our energy to, but they are not sustainable. They are that which is from our woundings, from the hidden shadow side that we then project all of the negative energy on, and we create them to interact with ourselves so that we can heal those things. So I don't know about what people talk about spirit fungus or demons with the breath. I just know what I'm seeing in the language. I don't entertain any of that anymore because I've seen that my external world is my inward reality. And so I'm not projecting demons outwardly. I'm dealing with my own inner demons, which is my wounded child that is acting up that needs to be dealt with. All right, let's go back. I think I'm going to go a little bit quicker because I've already been going for an hour and 10, and my husband's wandering around because he's waiting for me to stop sharing.
I was just going to jump into my computer.
All right. So in moving up, this is the mouth that speaks, or whether really the pay is, not only is it the mouth to speak, it directly is connected to the language. So when we see these first two letters here, we're talking about a language of fire. The flame letters are actually the way that they had described the Aramaic writings, actually in the Hebrew form through the scrolls, were called the Chaldean flame letters. And these flame letters were to let us know that the ethereal fire of what we are dealing with, electromagnetism, and the letters that actually change the material world and form and structure, is coming forward to give us the power that we need on the inside. The power means in direction to deal with our wrestle. The Tet is all about the wrestle, to deal with our wrestle, so that we can unify that which we have been separating ourselves from. And this is turning us upright instead of being upside down. I'm not going to go into greater detail on that because I want to keep moving on. The next word, Aleph Pei, it has a meaning of accession. How interesting, you guys. Yes, it is a primitive particle, but it also, as a word, means anger, wrath, nose, and face. So what are we talking about? This is, as we're moving from and through this verse, we're actually talking about turning things, the anger, wrath, nose, face, things from face value. Remember, the Peshitta is the simple translation. So when we take a look at something in the simple translation through words, it is keeping us from the deeper movement, which is the revealing of ourselves. And you can be angry at this. You can have wrath. It is going to be coming out of your mouth because it's a mouth that is speaking revelation, but it's meant for us to unify us. It's meant to, through the power of God, the process of accession. What is that? An act of acceding, assent to agreement. Some of you who have been on our teachings on Patreon know that this is the Aleph Tav. Those who agreed to come in by assent, an agreement, to join. But it also means an enlargement. But what we see from the 1640s, it's an act of coming to a position or into possession, especially in reference to a throne. Think about that. We are talking about turning. Remember, at the very beginning, I was talking about the bride. I was talking about her receiving her crown. We were talking about the set apart place of what she does in getting herself ready and comparing those words of the Qaram and the Rakam. This is all connected to all of that. I've had this built up for a couple weeks of why I wanted to share this with you. This is so that we can receive our crown and receive the throne. And this has everything to do with that which is on the inside, not outside of you. I'm not saying I'm taking the throne on anything external. I'm saying the throne, the seat of the brain, the amygdala, where fear can control me or love can. That is a big deal. When we talk about moving into this next word, So follow this progression here. Now we're moving into a word that means all, every, whole, entirely, entire, but it has the word for bride in it. It literally has the word for bride and literally has the word for crown. So the bride who is receiving her slow down, Carrie. The bride who is receiving her crown is one who has grasped a hold of the authority that she has within her own heart and is revealing the Shekinah glory. She has taken the throne. Love sits on the amygdala, not the ego, because the ego reacts out of fear. The crowned bride, as the queen, responds out of love and projects the Shekinah glory, the glory of God in the earth. Now we go back to the dead body, carcass, or the body in the flesh. Again, what is this saying to us? These two sides, totally dependent on that which you are doing. Are you grasping a hold of your shadow, or are you not grasping it? Are you pushing it away? It's a dead body. It's something I can't touch. Or are you bringing it back to life? Because that is all based upon that which you are gathering and assembling. As a ger, Gimel Resh, I didn't share that with you earlier, which means one who is sojourning, and it's on the inside. So one who is sojourning on the inside is going to get to the place where they're either going to grasp a hold of the power of their shadow, or they're going to continue dancing around it and walking away from it and never receiving the full power and never receiving their crown. How can I say that? Because the next word, light, bright, luminaries, and illumined. Nechar. So for those of you who have been listening to my husband for a while now and has been listening on Patreon specifically, and maybe some of our shorts that we've done on YouTube, the mountain and the river are one. Take a look at what is also the meanings of this Nahir. To shine, to dawn, bring to light, explain, enlighten, light a lamp, and illuminate. Also a word that means fire. Hebrew Nahar is a river, to sparkle, to gleam. What do we see that's different here? The yod. The yod has been added on the inside. It is showing us, what I see, is that power that is given to us on the inside as a spark, it's being revealed to us that which we need to do on the inside. The work that we need to do to deliver ourselves from anything that is separating us from being able to raise our heads, to be able to become the first fruits, to become a leader, to become a spiritual sovereign, delivering us from anything that is keeping us as the poor and the destitute, because there's a choice, but work has to be done. This would be saying your whole body is then enlightened, meaning that you're spiritually aware. So I decided to take a look at what enlightened is, and it went to illuminated. So illuminated, well informed, from enlighten. So enlighten, to remove the dimness or the blindness. See through the eyes dimly lit. We're removing the dimness or blindness from one eyes or heart to supply with intellectual light. Sure sounds a lot like the mind of Christ, the Hillel, to put in light. But because we are talking about the heart and the mind, from one's eyes or heart, we are actually talking about the Magdalene and the Christ energy both. And the very last word, this is what's so profound. You know, it's translated, here we go. We've got he, they, she, it is, that, they's, one, or those. Okay. If you do not know the vibratory frequency of the letters themselves, you will miss out on so much. Take a look at this. We know that the He is a letter that means to reveal or to behold in its essence, but it's every luminous manifestation of that which is seen. I mean, it's plain as day. Like My hand is manifested. I can see this, right? So behold, something that is being manifested that can be clearly seen. Well, I started out talking about the mirror because everything that you see on the outside is showing as a manifestation that which is on the inside, something that you're meant to connect to. Now take a look at this. The Vav in its much deeper essence. You've heard me talk about it being the convertible, the translatable, transmutable sign, and it is, but it has other meanings here. There are 3 different ways that this letter can be sounded: an U or an O, or can be used as a consonant. One of them, with the O, the kolameli, the one that has a dot above it, represents the eye of a man, and it becomes a symbol of light. The second represents the ear and becomes a symbol of the sound, air, and wind. If any of you guys have been following us for a while, you know that that is directly connected to ruka or ruach, the spirit. And third, when it's a consonant, it is the emblem of water, and it represents, not taste, typo here, taste and covetous desire. Well, that is not what is being said here. This is actually has to do with the sound and the symbol of air and wind. This is ruka. So being revealed through the spirit, something that you hear. What was I sharing before with the mouth? Not only is it the language, but that which you are speaking is revealing that which is within. The symbol also is the knot that unites, as well as the point which separates nothingness and being, the place, the narrow path that few find. This is 0 pointing things. It's the universal convertible sign that makes things pass from one nature to another. And it is a conjunctive sign. Okay, Carrie, what does that mean? Those who have gone through the work, those who have converted their shadow, they are revealing that they are connected to all things. And what does this mean? This means because they've transmuted and they've united everything together, this is what allows them to connect to another. This is what allows them connect to the earth, to the unifying presence of all things. This is what allows one to transfer and translate themselves from one state of being to another. This goes much deeper. So you can see that it's taking the simple things of the translated works and going much deeper so that the heart and the mind can be unified as one. But when we're talking about the lamp, the very beginning, we can see that what we are talking about is the lamp. It's that which we desire and yearn for, that which we're imagining and we're dreaming, that we're projecting and creating. So what is this saying? This whole verse is talking to us and sharing with us how to be a creator of our reality. It's what is being created in our reality because of what we are imagining, that which we're daydreaming about, that which we are desiring from the inside that we are projecting. It's taking the simple things and turning them right side up instead of upside down and going much deeper into the recesses of our own being and not externalizing everything and projecting things and blaming things, but literally taking our own shadows, healing them, bringing them back home, and creating responsibly through the quantum realm and projecting a new outcome. I hope you guys can see that. So there was a lot in this today. I'm not going to go any deeper. Ken's been sitting here. I'm sure he can add a few things. But again, connecting all of this to the mirror, using this as a tool, because the desire of our heart, if you can see the desire of your heart through the mirror, you're going to know that you're either projecting peace, a mighty peace, or you're going to be projecting chaos. You're also going to know whether you are in the place where you don't have a course of action. If you've set yourself apart as devoted to making your wedding garments, aka receiving your crown, so you can receive your garment of light, that is what the wedding gown is all about. It has to do with our crystalline structure. Then moving into the Rakam, where we've become one in loving kindness, because now we are fully illuminated, having found life. Negentropy on the inside, where we are no longer blocked on the inside. None of our chakras are blocked. They're actually spinning in a negentropic state, aka syntropy, because all the work has been done. That is the lamp that is full of light all the way through, that is creating peace and no longer chaos. The bottom line in all of this is, bless your mirror. Bless that which you are seeing. If you want to continue, take a Alan, you're so funny. Now landing. Yes, I am landing the plane. If you want to continue seeing everything out on the outside, and you want to see all of these comparisons, and you want to talk about Trump, and you want to talk about Biden, and you want to talk about the IMF, and you want to talk about the Illuminati, and you want to talk about all of that external stuff, you are going to continue to stay in the world of chaos. You are separating from that which is on the inside of you, and you are relating to the chaos instead of taking the chaos that is within you, finding it and seeing it and unifying with it, raising up your own sovereign head from the inside, unifying the twin energies and unifying with your shadow so that you are one that fully sees. You can stay in that basket in the chaos in the outer world. Or you can use the mirror and go, what chaos am I choosing to entertain on the outside that is trying to show me the chaos that exists within? And if you're willing to do that, then you're setting yourself apart as one who hasn't taken a course. The accursed that have separated themselves from lifting their own sovereign head, that is elevating that chaos within the collective as the collective that has no course, or entering into the place of loving kindness where you're choosing to find the place that you've separated on the inside, finding life by connecting to it, Chava, the mother of all living, so that you are lifting up the collective through loving kindness. Everything that I shared with you today is about becoming the resolve to the problems that we see out here, to everything that we want to blame, everything that we want to talk about, everything that we see in all the political games of the system of duality. I refuse to have my pieces on the board any longer. Ken said something a long time ago that he's the case, closed. He's all the pieces. He's the case that holds the pieces of the white and the black, and he's the checkered board. He is all things. So as the case closed is me and is you, who have unified ourselves as one, as the black, as the white, as the yin, as the yang, as the feminine energy, as the masculine energy in 0 point, that does not enter into the game of duality anymore, because we see from a higher perspective as the observer. And we take anything that comes within our sphere that pokes, prods, sticks, and stings us as an opportunity to transmute another shadow, so that in our complete turning, there is no shadow. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall no longer fear. That's what it's all about. What sits on your throne? Chaos or the mighty revealing of love? We get to choose every single day. When we go to bed at night, we technically die. When we get up in the morning, we resurrect to a new day, because the only thing that exists is now. So as my husband would say, Ken, do you want to add it? What would you say about in the morning?
Oh, may you journey into your war well, and may you rest in the evening. Rest in peace.
There you go. May you journey your day of war well, and may you rest in peace at night. That's what it's all about. Hope this helps today. Hope that you saw the mirror aspect. And for those of you who came in late, I highly suggest going back at the beginning so that you can see we talked for 30 minutes about what the mirror is and the aspects of what it does for us. And we connected it to the place of becoming the bride and going into the place of the Queen of Heaven. And I actually didn't get to share a verse with you. It's okay. I'll save it for another day because it's really important for us to see it. But I've gone long. We've already passed 1:30. So Toda Rabah. Thank you all very much for listening and sitting in with me today. It's a windy, rainy day, so this is a perfect time for me to come and connect with you guys again and taking it a little bit further in the sacred wedding of what it looks like. Practical application of the mirror. Again, anything that is outside of you that you are looking, trying to blame things on, look within, because the second you start doing this, we will no longer need that external government to shape our lives for us. We will shape our own lives. We will become those which are the chieftains, the leaders, the headship, and we are going to be flipping the principalities and powers on their heads so that we are the ones that are rightfully ruling and reigning because we did the inner work and we reflect that which is on the inside. Peace. Namaste. Shalom alaikum. We love all of you.